In this video, I'm going to be talking about time constraints when it comes to communicating data. Now, in your work, you probably encountered a quick turnaround or faced the challenge of giving a brief update, but struggled to get all the details delivered in a concise and actionable manner. This video covers some practical approaches to dealing with time limitations. I'll be demonstrating these approaches via a real world example. I want you to imagine that you work at a home and garden center and your colleague was tasked with putting together a single slide market update for the leadership team. They were only given an hour to pull together this information from existing reports, and they were allotted just 5 minutes to present the information. Here is what they created. Now, you might feel like this is not your colleague's best work, but they tell you it is the best they could do given the circumstances. While that may be true, there are some quick and relatively easy things you can do when faced with a similar situation. Now, don't get me wrong, I love a good deadline because otherwise I will drag a project on forever. That's the beauty of constraints. They can often force you to act or make a decision when you may otherwise procrastinate. We have an entire podcast about the beauty of constraints that I'll link to in the description box if you want to take a listen. In this video, I'm going to address time restrictions in two main categories. One is having limited time to present your information, and the other is limited time to create content. So I'll offer some quick strategies to try when you find yourself in a situation where you don't have enough time. Let's first tackle the scenario where you only have a few minutes to deliver your insights, but there is so much you want to say. The challenge here is that you have too much content with too little time. Now, one approach is to time your delivery. You want to trim down your content to just the important elements and practice presenting within the allotted time. Yes, I know this sounds easier than it may actually be. What if you edited it to just the important points, but you still find you're running long? In this case, you should further refine and continue to hone your message. To do this, there are two useful concepts you should know about. They are the 3-minute story and the big idea. The 3-minute story is exactly what it sounds like. It's if you had 3 minutes to tell your audience what they need to know, what would you say? It's important in this boiled down version to know not only what are the critical components that have to be there, but also the less critical components that you can let go of in this highly condensed version. Now, the big idea boils the so what of your communication down even further. It articulates your point of view, conveys what's at stake, all in a single complete sentence. When we do workshops, we give our participants a big idea worksheet that helps break down the process of creating a big idea into manageable steps to help craft a compelling message. I'll link to a similar community exercise in the description box if you want to check it out for your next project. Let's consider one possible big idea for our garden center scenario. Perhaps we want to convince our head of strategic growth to expand our outdoor specialty to grow our revenue and gain back market share from our top competitor, Waterman's. When you don't have a lot of time to present, clarifying the key points help you design your slides thoughtfully to support your main message and fit within any time slot you're given. So these are great strategies when faced with limited time to present. Now let's discuss the scenario where you only have a short amount of time to put your content together. With our big idea in mind, we can use it to determine what makes it into our final communication. Since we only have a short amount of time to create content, we can use our big idea to discern what graphs and analyses make it into the presentation. Now, coming back to our colleague slide, we can look at each of these graphs and decide which supports our main idea. That is that we should expand outdoor furniture to gain back market share. Now, the table and the bars at the top and that first bullet show Waterman's growth in outdoor specialty, which is important context to support our idea to expand in the category. Now, to have a more focused message, we should opt for just one of these visuals. In this case, we could just keep the table since it includes the growth numbers, and previous experience presenting to the head of strategic growth tells us they prefer detailed tables. Now, the second bullet and the line chart show Smith's declining market share. This is what's at stake for our audience and should be included since it's integral to our message. Now, with more space, let's rearrange the graphs side by side and move the bullets to the top of the slide so our audience reads them first. Now, when you don't have a lot of time to put something together, the added pressure can be stressful because you don't have adequate time to make a polished deliverable. So, with little time, so low hanging fruit is to use our words thoughtfully to make the main takeaway obvious to our audience. One way to use our words wisely is to use what's called pithy takeaway titles. Slide titles are prime real estate, often the first thing your audience will read. So there's an opportunity to summarize your findings and get your main message across to your audience very quickly. For example, on our colleague slide, instead of a descriptive title like Market Overview, we can use the title that summarizes our garden center, Smith's Garden Center, where it currently stands in the market. Perhaps we use the slide title that says market share continues to decline. Now our audience reads this title and they have a good sense of what's going on, and they're going to start to hunt for the information showing a drop in market share. Now we could also think about the tone and action we want our audience to take. Maybe we iterate on the slide title to expand Smith's outdoor specialty to improve share. Now you've gotten your point across quickly and engaged your audience in a conversation about next steps. We could go further and adjust the text in the bullets to be above the graph it corresponds to and add more words to provide context for our audience. This would be especially important if we thought our slide would be sent around and shared with others. Now, a final quick tip is to adjust our visuals ever so slightly to reinforce the words on the slide. This would make it quicker and easier for the audience to find that supporting evidence. You want to draw those eyes to the important details. So one strategy to do so is to use color sparingly to focus attention. For example, we could design most of the slides in grayscale and then introduce color sparingly and strategically to get our audience to quickly see the important data. So the orange text on the left visually links the data from the table showing Waterman's outdoor specialty growth, while the green text in the line on the right highlights Smith's declining market share. So those are some ideas when you don't have a lot of time. If you just have a few minutes to present your findings, time your delivery and craft a big idea to hone your message. Now, if you only have a little bit of time to create content, then use words and color wisely to quickly get your main point across. For step-by-step instructions on how to implement some of these formatting strategies in Excel and PowerPoint, check out our tutorials playlist. But I'm curious, what other types of constraints do you face in your work, other than time limitations? Comment below and we'll share additional tips in future videos.